Hello. I want to talk about Pip. So I've kind of posted a little bit about him the last couple days, but just kind of wanted to take a minute to talk a little more about him. So he is learning place. Can I flip the camera? Yeah, so he's over there learning place. He's pretty good at it by now. That long collar strap, it just is the excess collar length on the e-collar. I don't have a shorter strap on there right now. Anyway, so he is learning place. He's getting pretty good at it, and he actually has off-leash freedom now for potty breaks. I mean, obviously I have to watch him and monitor him to make sure that he doesn't run off. There's Bub. But he has a fairly solid recall now, and he can be trusted off-leash, which is great. And he used to show pretty significant interest in my cat. He wanted to rush the cat and chase it. He doesn't do that anymore. He will, kind of look at the cat and then take a couple steps toward it and go, I'm not supposed to do that. And then he'll kind of turn off and go do another thing. So he's learning. He's not at a level where I could trust him unsupervised, just because I don't know what he would do. I don't think there's any bad intent there with cats with him. He probably just wants to chase them, because he is a herding dog. And he also kind of wants to chase my goats too, but he hasn't had enough exposure to them because they haven't been out a whole lot, because it's been raining the last couple days. So, and goats don't like water. Fun fact, they don't like water. Anyway, so he hasn't had a whole lot of exposure to the goats, but he has kind of tried to chase them, but he doesn't chase the cat anymore. He doesn't try to chase the cat anymore. I never let him chase the cat, but he doesn't want to anymore. He doesn't. I think he still wants to, but he knows he's not supposed to. So that's kind of the first step in kind of eliminating his desire to chase cats. And I'm not doing that through punishment or anything. I am just interrupting him every time that he shows interest in the cat, so that it becomes kind of a default behavior. A default behavior to see the cat and then look away and go do something else. But anyway, so he's doing really well. He's off-leash, not off-leash trained or anything, but he gets to go out to potty without a leash, which is a beautiful thing, because walking a dog out to go potty is a pain in the ass. And I say that because I'm super spoiled, because I have Abe, who's off-leash trained, Sky, who I off-leash trained within a week of getting her because I was just so tired of having her out on a leash all the time. Felix, who's e-collar trained, off-leash trained, and then there's just Elsa, who pees and poops super, super fast. So, you walk outside and boom, she's done. And then she wants to come back in. And I can relate because I don't like the cold. So I'm super spoiled. I don't like having to take a dog out on a leash and stand around and wait for them to go potty. I would much rather let all the dogs out, let them go find their perfect spots to poop, as it takes them forever, while I do other stuff. Monitoring them, of course, supervising them, of course, but feeding the horses or checking on everybody. Skylar, leave him alone. Pip is in place, and she's walking around. But anyway, so he's been doing really well. He usually will go through the night without really whining. This morning, yeah, Kelly, for real, waiting is the worst, because honestly, not all dogs are like Elsa, where, you walk outside and then boom, this is the perfect spot to poop. It doesn't always work that way. Most dogs, they have to walk around and squat for 10 minutes because, they thought it was the right spot, but no, it's not. That over there is. No, it's not. It's over there. It's a pain. But anyway, so he normally goes through the night without whining or anything. Last night, this morning, so Jordan, my fiance, leaves here at 4:30 in the morning on Mondays because he works in Illinois. So they all kind of woke up, and I was not getting up to let everybody out at 4:30. No freaking way. But they thought that I was. So he whined a little bit this morning. But for the most part, he's been really good in his crate. He's still barking a lot in his kennel on the outside. He barks a little bit. He has a bark collar on, so he gets corrected a couple times, and then he settles. But for the most part, he's doing pretty well. He still has a hard time settling in the kennel outside. He will settle in the crate eventually if I don't. So at night when I put him in and go to bed, for the most part, he'll just settle and go to sleep. But if he's in his crate and like I'm up and doing stuff, it still takes quite a bit of management with the camera and the e-collar to get him to kind of settle in his crate without whining or doing anything silly. I have yet to see any real destructive behavior from him, but that's because I am micromanaging him to where he doesn't get a chance to make that bad decision. So this is, like I said in a previous post, this is not the individual like management stuff, the micromanaging, that's not changing his mindset. That is just a management tool. Skylar, leave him alone. You're not being fair. Puppies. But anyway, so it's more of a management tool than actually changing his mindset. But I can't punish or correct to change the mindset, and I'm not intending to do that, and I haven't attempted to do that with him because it won't work. But you can train him and enforce a different behavior. So without going too far down the alternative behavior rabbit hole, you can teach an alternate behavior to eliminate or replace an unwanted behavior as long as you're willing to punish the dog for not complying with the alternate behavior. So in his case, let me get him to lay back down. Pip, down. Good boy. So in his case, the option is lie down or be destructive in his crate. So I taught him first with low-level e-collar pressure, the lowest e-collar pressure that he could feel at the point where it's just a little bit of a tingle. It's not anything uncomfortable. And I show that to all my clients that before we use an e-collar to make sure they're comfortable with that. The lowest level that he can possibly feel means to default to lying down in his crate. So I spent a lot of time on that. And then you can make it more difficult and you can enforce the down. So I can bump the levels up a little bit. When he goes to stand up, I can bump the levels up a little bit, which is what I'm doing now. Pip, down. Good boy. When he stands up, I can bump those levels up a little, put a little more pressure on him, and he will lie back down. So that's different than punishing the crate nonsense. I'm not letting him do it and then lighting him up for it, which technically I could do. It is possible to do that, and a lot of people will do that. But I don't find it all that fair because you're not letting the dog develop a new default behavior to default back to after being corrected. So I could, at this point, because I've spent so much time teaching him that his default behavior in the crate that's going to get him rewarded is lying down, I could not do anything, let him make the mistake of trying to be destructive, correct him at a high level, and he would default back to lying down in his crate. I'm not going to do that right now. I don't think it's going to be helpful for him. But if I were to do that right off the bat, it's not really fair to him because he doesn't know what he's supposed to do instead. So I teach him what I want. I micromanage him so that he can't do anything but what I want. And then later, I could let him make a mistake, correct him, and have him default back to the behavior that I want him to do because it's been so practiced. So I hope that makes sense. So that's kind of an update on how Pip is doing. The plan was to keep him for only a couple days and then take him back to the shelter. But he's catching on so fast that I don't really mind hanging on to him for a little bit. I'm just waiting for my fiance to remind me that I promised only one shelter dog at a time. Details. But anyway, so that's how he's doing. Let me know if anybody has any questions about him. He is super, super smart. Like, super smart. His anxiety levels are pretty high, and that comes from kind of his previous lifestyle. He's a working dog at heart, not like a Malinois working dog, but he needs a lot of mental stimulation. And if he doesn't get that in a productive way, that will just add to his anxiety. Sky is very similar to that. Not necessarily in the same way that she needs to be like actively working on something with her mind, but if she doesn't have guidance, she becomes very anxious. And that's what Pip is like as well. But, you know, I'm not blaming anybody. This is super common for a lot of dogs. They're not getting enough mental stimulation. And that's kind of the why he is the way he is. So in wherever he goes next, he needs to have a lot of daily mental stimulation as well as physical stimulation. Because you can go out in the backyard and throw a ball for an hour, and it'll tire your dog out, but it'll still be way up here, just amped up mentally. And that's not healthy. So you need to work the mind even more than you need to work the body, because otherwise you're going to be just training an athlete that has ridiculous anxiety problems. So anyway, that's kind of what he is, honestly, because he's a border collie and he can go for hours, but he's still way amped up. But anyway, did I talk about recall with him? I don't remember if I did or not, so I'm going to talk about it again. So his off-leash recall is pretty solid. I'd say 90% solid. So when I call just his name, he'll run back to me. If he doesn't, he gets a little tap of the e-collar at about a level 20. So his working level is like a 6 to an 8. Outside, it's about a 10. So a 20 is just enough to kind of poke him and go, hey, pay attention. And then I'll call him and he'll come back. But the reason that I can do that is because I've spent the time to condition the e-collar. So you can't just put an e-collar on a dog, let him loose, and then shock them when they don't come back. Like, that's not fair. But I spent the time to condition him to it so that he knows what that means. And that's super important. So I forget if I talked about that or not. If I did, I'm sorry. You just get to hear it twice. So, like I said, if anybody has any questions about him or is interested in adopting him after I'm done with his training, please let me know, and I can get you in contact with the shelter that he is from. So he will come fully trained. He will come fully off-leash trained, obedience trained. He will not have issues in his crate anymore. He will require a lot of structure to be maintained because especially anxious dogs, structure really helps them thrive in a home. But he will come fully trained, off-leash trained, e-collar trained, obedience trained, crate trained, all that good stuff. E-collar company recommendations. I only use e-collar technologies. So this is the Mini Educator. That's what I use for all the dogs that I train. Pip, down. Good boy. So this is the Mini Educator. I have the Micro Educator that I was going to use on Elsa. I kind of talked about this in a video that I've recorded but haven't posted yet. The Micro is for really small dogs, and I started to use it with Elsa, but she's got so much dead hair because she hasn't been groomed in so long that I wasn't getting a good contact. So I'm going to work on grooming her more before I do e-collar training. But anyway, long story short, there's the Mini Educator, there's the Micro Educator, and then I use for my personal dogs the Easy Educator, which is a little more programmable, a little more expensive, and expandable to 2 dogs, as well as this. This is also expandable to 2 dogs. But e-collar technologies, ecollar.com is the only e-collar brand that I will use. I know a lot of other professional trainers have good success with Dogtra. Sport dog tends to run hot, so it's okay once you get the dog to the correction level of the training, but for training, usually the lowest level on a Dogtra, sport dog, is too high for a lot of dogs. So anyway, that's how Pip's doing. I hope that answered your question, Megan. So that's how Pip's doing. He's been doing really well. Seeing his success and his progress is really just an awesome ode to e-collars, honestly, because e-collars and the proper use, and that's very important, the proper use of e-collars has made his success possible, because it gives me a wonderful, perfect way to communicate with a dog from a distance. So it's wonderful. My dog can't handle off leash yet. It's possible. So if a border collie can learn to be off leash fairly reliably in a couple days, and pretty much any dog can. So it's just a matter of training and using the e-collar properly. So if you need any help with that, Megan, let me know. And I think you were the one that was potentially interested in Pip, so maybe I can convince you to take him, because he's going to be an awesome dog. But anyway, that's how he's doing. He's been fantastic. He's going to be super cool to train. I haven't really been able to spend a whole lot of time with him, other than just working on the things that are super important for him, which is like calm in the crate and calm in place and all that.